pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, are there any additions or corrections to the consent calendar?
So moved. Second.
There's a motion and a second. Call roll.
Commissioner Spiggers.
Aye.
Garbers.
Aye.
York.
Aye.
Larson.
Aye.
Mayor Lindstrom.
Aye. Are there any visitors to be heard tonight on any topic that is not on the agenda? Okay. Move on to old business. We have the statement of interest. The city received, is this on? Is it on?
Hold on a second.
Well,
Some are on, some are
is
on.
it on?
Everything's on here.
You have a dead battery?
No, there you go.
Now is it on? Can you hear it?
Okay.
The city received 2 statements of interest from engineering firms to assist with the flood resiliency and economic recovery planning. The selection committee met Thursday, September 12th, and have selected ISG to complete the H&H study. So, do you have a cost proposals for those, anybody? We haven't seen any.
No, actually, I'd like to select ISG to assist with flood resiliency and economic recovery planning, subject to final contract and funding. But they'll come in and what they'll do is number one, see what we want them to do. And then they'll go and they'll see what they can do and what funding there is out there. Right now, it's a prime time to do it because a lot of it can fall under FEMA.
So they, ISG didn't send in a proposal or a cost because,
Well, they don't know what we want.
okay. Do you have any questions, anybody? Anybody in the audience?
Ask a question. Chad Skiles, Canton. Has anyone else submitted a proposal to do this work?
Yep.
If so, was that supposed to be the procedure? If so, why are we not following that procedure? And if ISG hasn't submitted any proposals, I think this decision is premature.
Did we get a dollar amount from the other
We did,
company that?
we did one and they sent it to City Hall, but we haven't seen the other.
We did, but what they sent isn't necessarily what we want because actually I got from Larry, what I like to do is add on, there could be funding for West Road if we look to expand. And with West Road South Bridge getting taken out, I think we can look at the flooding that came down that way, and include this in this same study.
So both companies are aware of that?
That just came up when you sent it to me, what, Friday, Larry?
Commissioner Jarvis, the question again, please.
That email that you sent about West Road North getting funding.
Okay.
Better chance of getting funding if we look into developing further on to the west.
The proposal I've been working on with the county is to go to every state agency and federal agency to see if there is funding available to extend city services all the way to Lynn Street as option one. Number two is to extend it to the edge of the county's property. And one of the issues is, are you just going to be able to do the sewer at this point in time based on funding? And that's getting you on the state water plan, and the application's being submitted on that. There's also the Department of Transportation that has up to $600,000 available per project. And one of the issues is trying to split it into separate projects. But we're exploring every funding source to accomplish that. And one of the issues is, was there flooding out there, and are there any federal funds to resolve that in the future? Did that answer your question, Paul? Okay.
So would
So what amounts to is if we can get ISEG in here, and I guess we can get that one in here too, but if we get them in here, tell them what we would like for them to look at. They will go look at what they can do, come back with a proposal, and come back with what they would think it would cost and what funding there is out there or grants out there to move on. So we actually get to the bottom. If we got there and we didn't like what ISG said, we can go look at HDR's proposal.
I'm Myron Adam with JSA Engineers, here to basically represent the HDR JSA team. We're the other team that submitted some information on the SOI. We were asked to put some budget numbers together as part of our SOI, and maybe some of you have seen that as far as a dollar amount and a scope. We were asked to look specifically at the Cedar Street drainage issue, and I thought that's where we were going with this, with the SOI based on the latest information we have. But just wanted to, more than anything, just thank you for allowing us to submit on the SOI. I know you just picked, you selected a few. We were glad that we were part of that. A couple of quick advantages I just wanted to point out for our team. We're all local. HDR is obviously a huge engineering firm, but the three main people that would be working with the city, myself with JSA, obviously, but Delron and TJ with HDR. Between the three of us, we've got over 90 years of engineering experience, and we're all local. The ones who put the proposal together, the fees together to date so far have been myself, Delron, and TJ. So we're going to be, not only did we put all the information together for you, we're going to be working on the projects for you as well. So we're going to have that, local knowledge, especially, I've been here for 30 years. I've been in the engineering business. I've been around Canton for just over 25 years. So I think that's the local knowledge, I think, is a valuable thing. So yeah, for the most part, I just want to come up and say thank you for inviting us to be part of this process. And I'll answer any questions if you have any.
So this requires a motion. I was under the understanding that this was just an H&H study from north down through town to see what we can eliminate, but I didn't realize all this other stuff was attached to it. So
I think what we're trying to use here is the natural disaster and FEMA being involved. So yes, we were just looking at north to south, but with the water running over to the west and incorporating some of them folks on the west street, and with us potentially building that direction and industrial park building that direction, that would incentivize us to capitalize on the fact that we have FEMA money available. So that is why that was brought up.
I guess I'd make a motion to I guess, approve whichever company can do what we're looking for them to do once we have a dollar amount. Because right now I don't have a dollar amount for either, and that's not, doesn't make sense, I guess.
I guess the next thing is because we're fighting the deadline of what, November 14th, we have to have it submitted. We bring, well, what the next step would be is we bring ISG in, whoever wanted, if it's this panel or if we want to choose a panel, we would say what we want done. They would go back and then, meaning if we want to do West Road flooding, Cedar Street flooding, actually, when College Street, now that's the water that came in past Keystone, we can include that. Whatever for, I mean, if we do ISG, we come in here and they go back and say, this is what we can do, this is what it's gonna cost, this is what funding is out there. At that time, before we spend any money, if we don't like what ISG says, we can look elsewhere.
How can you apply for FEMA funds if we don't know?
We have to figure out the scope of what we want done
And how
first.
fast can they do that then?
That's why, I mean, and if we pass this tonight, I would suggest that we get another meeting in about a week or so to get them in here so they can start working. So when they come back to us, we can okay that, and that's all sent in by November 14th, which is 2 months away, less than 2 months away.
I mean, I agree, if FEMA's gonna help fund, like West Road and College and Cedar and, anywhere else that has needs repaired, then obviously that makes sense. But again, without having dollar amounts, it just doesn't, it's hard to really say what the best approach is, because we're not really looking at anything, I guess.
They're not gonna spend any money until they tell us what it's gonna cost, after we tell them what we want done.
Can we tell both firms what we want done and they both give us a proposal?
I mean, that would,
I mean, why are we only singling out one?
I guess if both firms wanna go do it. Hoping that this ties in with the capital improvement plan. Remember, in 2025, we wanted to do Third Street first. If this all would roll together, that we could get some money to, Cedar Street was what, seventh on the list, somewhere in there, which is about 14 years out. If we could get some funding, we'd probably move Cedar Street up to the top to get some funding to do this road at the same time. Which all fits into the capital improvement plan.
So, is there any reason why we can't let them both do it? I mean, if they both do it at the same time, we're not gonna lose any time.
Iron in your hair, I mean, is both firms gonna wanna go out and do all the work, find out what financing's out there, and then one get picked?
I think what it's going to take a few of you to put together a scope of work that both firms can sit down and say, okay, scope item, they want to look at the drainage coming out of North Cedar. That's one item. You want to work on the drainage over by the ball fields. That's going to be a second item. The downtown or just north of Highway 18, 4th Street, there's some issues in there. That could be a third item. Those would be project items. Then you say, give us some direction of what funding, or not what funding, but that would be one of the scope items, is what can you do for us for funding? So based on a clear, defined what you're actually looking for, I think then both firms can better provide you with a good engineering number for what it's going to take to get to your capital improvement plan and your available funding sources, whether it be FEMA, state, user rate impacts, et cetera. But I think if you can come to us with clear scope items and what you're looking for, kind of an end result, what you're looking for, I feel both firms can then come to you with a good number. So we're not guessing at what we think you want is the big thing right now.
The number you bring forward to us. What I'm getting, the study I've done is pretty much we need to come back and with it.
We'll be able to come back with a number of what it's going to take to get you to that point. Is it going to be a $40,000 engineering contract or a $120,000 engineering contract to provide you with the information that you need?
That's what I'm asking. I've always said, pick one of those numbers, pick $100,000. Engineering fee is gonna be $100,000. What I need you, if you're gonna come back and tell me that,
Mhm.
then I need you to tell me, but we have went one step further and there's $90,000 worth of funding out there to help pay this 100,000 plus $3, $4, $5, $6 million to actually do the work.
Sure. Yeah, I think that we can give you, we'll be able to give you those opportunities. Then you have to move forward with the applications and prepare the applications to get that money. But we can point out that either it's GOED or whether it be FEMA, FEMA will be, you got to prove the flooding damage. Did they get flooding from surface waters or did they just get, groundwater in their basements? That's not FEMA damage. So and there's a cost benefit or a return on investment to the FEMA funds as well. So there are some, but you've got a good case for a lot of, FEMA funding, whether it may not be on West Road itself, but on, Cedar Street, your culvert on Southwest Road, other areas in town. I think you can make a pretty good case that you can get some FEMA dollars. Transportation Alternative Program, probably Community Access Grant. GOED can be approached. And then there's smaller grants for like what you want to do, engineering work that can help cover some of the costs of that upfront engineering. And that we can lay all that out in that cost proposal.
Thank you, Mary. What did you mean?
I made a motion to have both of them submit, I guess, a cost to us based on what we want done.
Well, I think we have to back up a hair because I think Paul made a motion to approve ISG subject to final contract and funds secured. Is that correct, Paul?
That's what I'm trying to get. I mean, they can throw numbers out there. Number one, first we gotta tell whoever what we want. And who is that going to be? Because nobody can give us a number until we tell them what we want. And then, like I said, if, I don't care what firm comes and says it's $100,000 just for the engineering fees, and they just said that your work is gonna cost you $5 or $6 million. If they can't come back and say this grant or this, I mean, call them grants, call FEMA grant, whatever you want. If we want another proposal to sit on the shelf for another 14 years, that's kind of where we're heading if we do that. Unless that firm can come back and say, it's gonna cost you $6.3 million and there's grants out there for $5.5 million, we can't move forward.
But has ISG told, have you told ISG what we are wanting them to look at? Like they,
That's what I'm trying to make the motion that we bring in ISG to do that. We won't get billed by ISG until we like their proposal. We don't like their proposal at that time, we lost time, but we can switch.
Is that the same with JSA?
Right now, our proposal, the time we work on with the proposal is not billed to anyone. We're doing that for, the hope of future work.
So, you made a motion to approve ISG,
Subject to final contract and funding being secured.
okay? Is there a second?
I'll second that.
You call roll?
Commissioners Garbers,
Aye.
York.
Aye.
Larson,
No,
Biggers,
no,
Mayor Lundstrom,
No,
motion fails.
I'm gonna go back and do a different motion.
then I'll make a motion to have both engineering firms submit a proposal based on the work that we wanna see happen.
second.
By what date?
Myron, how long will it take you guys to do this?
No,
We'll need a little guidance on what you want is the big, and then, by business days.
Okay,
is
so,
that- is that the same with ISG?
Yeah, I mean, they,
Okay.
if we're gonna make that motion, that's fine. Who's going to tell HDR/JSA and ISG what we want? This board?
Yes,
Because we got a 2011 study, and that study's just chilling up on the shelf somewhere. And then we had a flood in 14, 19, and 24. I don't wanna have another flood and have some new study going, yep, they said that was gonna happen.
I would say within 2 weeks, we need to figure out what specifically we want done and get it to the companies. Because you said it needs to be turned in by November 14th.
Right, I mean, so what needs to be done before November 14th? Is if you want to put both companies out there to do this, number one, they gotta sit in front of, if it's this board, and we tell them what we want.
Yep.
They go back and do the work. They both come back at, in a given time, and give us their proposal. Then we have to select, then they gotta get their work done and have it ready to be submitted for funding before November 14th. Am I correct?
I gotta get it to Harley at CCOG. I gotta get her the proposal and a quote with numbers, so that can be submitted with her application for funding.
by November. Okay. We have a motion and a second.
Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna call roll.
Commissioners York. Aye. Larson.
Aye.
Biggers.
Aye.
Garbers.
Aye.
Mayor Lundstrom,
Aye,
motion passes.
Yeah,
get
it's
started
just,
on that then.
when are we doing the meeting? It can't be next commissioner meeting. It's
No,
not enough time.
No,
What's the call for a special? So,
I guess that's gonna have to, only should have called.
we would
both
have
of
to
them.
do that anyway with either one of them, so, we have a call a special meeting, make a list, and give it to both companies. And I'll look at the calendar when we're done here. Okay. The next old business item is the second reading for the 2025 appropriation ordinance. Kyle has presented the 2025 ordinance, and we had the first reading on September 3rd. And if approved, it will be published on September 26th and be effective on January 1st, 2025. And motion and second is required to approve the second reading.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Is there any questions? Not going to call roll?
Commissioners Larson.
Aye.
Biggers.
Aye.
Garbers.
Aye.
York. Mayor Lundstrom.
Aye. Next old business item is the second reading for, of ordinance to repeal and reenact chapter 30. And that is an amendment to repeal and reenact chapter 30. It's for the mayor and city commissioners. This is in conjunction with setting up for a city administrator. The first reading was done on September 3rd, and if approved, it will be published on September 26th, and it will be effective October 16th. So, motion and a second are required for this.
Motion to approve.
Motion to a second.
Second.
You gonna call roll?
Commissioners Biggers.
Aye.
Garbers.
Aye.
York. Larson.
Aye.
Mayor Lundstrom.
Aye. Next item is, the reading of the ordinance to repeal and reenact chapter 31. And this amendment is to, repeal chapter 31, city officials and reenacting as chapter 31, appointed officers and employees. This is in conjunction with setting up for a city administrator. First reading was on September 3rd. If it's approved, it will be published on September 26th, and it will be in effect on October 16th. And motion and second is required for this also.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Call roll.
Commissioners Garbers.
Aye.
York. Larson.
Aye.
Biggers.
Aye.
Mayor Lundstrom.
Aye. Okay, moving on to new business, we have a rezone hearing for Jason and Hope, and so we have to get them on the phone.
Yep, I will do that here in a second.
The planning and zoning has conducted a hearing on, August 27th for the proposed ordinance for Jason and Hope Bryant for a rezone at 305 North Noy Road, and recommends approval of the passage. And we will hold a hearing for that.
Well, Jason,
Hey, Jason, it's Kyle with the City of Canton. We're about ready to conduct your hearing.
okay,
Okay. This is the time and place for the hearing on the proposed rezone for the property owned by Jason and Hope Bryant located at 305 North Noy Road. The hearing is now open. The purpose of this hearing is to hear public comments on the request to rezone the property located at 305 North Noy Road from general business to residential. If any member of the city commission has a conflict of interest with this issue, they should so state and abstain from participation in this hearing. Okay. Jason and Hope Bryant are requesting rezone of this property from general business to residential, as they have indicated they will no longer be relocating a salon out there. Jason, do you have anything you want to say on this issue?
no, I don't think so.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions and discussion from the commissioners? Not?
Have you actually built a salon out there, or you just never did it?
No, another opportunity popped up that we're gonna move forward with later.
Okay. Any other question? No? Okay. Are there any proponents to this issue? If so, you may come forward. Okay. Are there any opponents to this issue? Members of the board may direct questions to the speakers if they wish, but we have no speakers, so we will move on. Hearing nothing further. Hearing nothing further, the public hearing is now closed. I would entertain a motion for a first reading on this rezone.
So moved.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Jason.
Thank you.
I'll push that big button there. Oh, there you go. Thank you, Jackie.
Okay. Next on the, we have a hearing for the planning and zoning ordinance relating to accessory buildings, definitions, and fences. Planning and zoning has conducted their hearing on August 27th, 2024, and recommends approval of passage for an ordinance relating to accessory buildings to not allow shipping containers or pod-type storage, their definitions, and updating the wording regarding the face of side of fences. Okay. We have a hearing to do. This is the time and place for the hearing on the ordinance amendment. The public hearing is now open. The purpose of this hearing is to present the public the ordinance to amend chapter 11.03 accessory buildings, recreational facility, and miscellaneous structures, chapter 19.02 definitions, and chapter 11.09 fences, and to take public input. If any member of the city commission has a conflict of interest with this issue, they should so state and abstain from participation in this hearing. Okay, does anyone on the board wish to discuss any part of this? Okay,
What did the fence ordinance say?
I believe what they're changing is, and I'm kind of going because I wasn't involved in it heavily, but I think what it's saying is, I think the ordinance says that the pretty side of fence should face your neighbor, doesn't say shall. So we had somebody put up a fence and put it on the other side, and when we said, it should be, and they're like, well, your ordinance says should.
So you're changing it to shall? And everything is grandfathered in?
Yep.
Storage unit to on the ground? And pods and shipping containers to put in the ground?
I think they're not allowing them, period.
For those of you that know me, you know what I'm thinking, what's coming down the chute here? For a safe environment?
okay,
This is in city limits residential.
Right, that's a good point.
I don't have a good answer for that. Tiffany unfortunately had a small accident this morning, so she is not here to answer those questions. Do you know, Larry,
What's the question?
whether this ordinance that planning and zoning is coming up with, is it just residential areas?
It says residential districts.
Okay.
If it says residential, then it's going to be specific to that residential area. The way your ordinance is set up is that you have things that are permitted in each individual district, or required in each individual district, and then there's a cross-reference. So it just says residential, that's all, I believe.
The
I
planning and
guess I
zoning-
would like to, you asked, I think I need to back out of any voting because of my storage unit and the new housing development coming out. So my storage unit is gonna butt right up against residential.
but it's grandfathered in.
I would think so.
Did you have something?
I was just gonna ask, does planning and zoning, are they aware that this was residential only?
They're the ones who did it, so I understand.
They had somebody ask if they could put a shipping container in their backyard as a permanent storage,
Mhm.
is where this all started.
$2,200 in England. Delivered for $200.
So it's worded, it shall not be allowed to be used as an accessory building.
Shucks.
That you're gonna abstain?
Yep.
Okay, are there any proponents to this issue in the audience? Okay, are there any opponents to this issue? Hearing nothing further, the public hearing is now closed. I would entertain a motion for a first reading.
So moved.
Do you have a second? Oh, we don't need one.
Just first reading, the ordinance
First reading.
change.
Okay, next on the agenda is the IM 28 resolution. IM 28 will have a negative effect on the city budget. The following resolution states that potential impact would have on the city's budget if the measure is passed by voters. Motion is needed to approve the resolution, that be given a number and authorize me to sign, and it is just stating that we do not support IM 28.
Just that it'll potentially, cost the city $216,000 in sales tax revenue.
Motion.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any questions? If not, then call roll.
Commissioners York. Larson. Biggers.
Aye.
Garbers.
Aye.
Mayor Lundstrom.
Aye. Next on the agenda is a raffle request for the Canton Wrestling Club. Canton Wrestling Club has submitted a raffle request, and the tickets are $10 for one or $50 for six, and will be sold from November 1st through January 18th of 2025. There will be 8 winners drawn. Prizes include a 4-day trip to Nashville, that's a $2,000 value, a hot air balloon ride, 5 guns, hotel stay and spa package. Did you want to say anything about? Ask Bob. If not, so we'll make a motion to approve this.
Move.
Second.
Motion in a second, you want to call roll?
Commissioners Larson. Biggers.
Aye.
Garbers.
Aye.
York. Mayor Lundstrom.
Aye. Next on the agenda is a resolution to set a hearing date for special assessment, which are nuisance abatements. As part of the nuisance abatement process, the city incurred costs for hiring contractors for mowing, yard cleanup, removing snow, and structural review. By law, those bills that remain unpaid can be assessed to the property. The special assessment process provides that the governing body, 1, set a public hearing, 2, notify the property owners of the hearing by both sending notice and publishing the notice of the hearing. The notice calls for the public hearing to be held on October 21st of 2024. Following the public hearing, the city commission will adopt a resolution approving the special assessment roll with any adjustments. Any
Somebody kind of want to explain that in a nutshell?
In order for us to assess the property owners for the work we've done, mowing grass, et cetera, we need to go through this process of setting a hearing to give them the ability to speak their piece. So once we do that, then the assessment roll, if you adjust any of the amounts, will go to the county auditor to be collected with property taxes.
And the 21st is an actual meeting night.
Right now, we can't, or what?
This is just the process that the state requires us to go through in order to assess them, to be collected by the county.
So we can't actually collect the money and all the details.
Correct. Well, the county would actually collect it. I mean, if people pay it, that's fine, but these are the people that we've sent bills to and haven't paid.
Motion to approve
Commissioner York made the motion.
for the second.
Is there any other discussion or comments? Can't you want to call roll?
Commissioners Biggers.
Aye.
Garbers.
Aye.
York. Larson. Mayor Lundstrom.
Aye. Next on the agenda is banners on Fifth Avenue for Veterans Day. Yeah, Laura Paul who is here to discuss putting banners along Fifth Street. So, go ahead, Paul.
before I begin, just a little correction on the agenda. It's actually on Fifth Street, not Avenue. And it's actually a several month period. It's not just Veterans Day. And I made a few notes that I want to just, I think for the best use of everyone's time, we'll just share those with you and then go with questions after that. So good evening. My name is Paul Song. My wife Kim and I own the Garden Shed Floral and Window Fashions, located at 203 East 5th Street. And we are also a member of the Canton Small Business Group. And our group's goal is to increase and renew the business activity in downtown Canton, as well as to promote community events in the downtown area and to generally improve the appearance of Canton. So our latest focus is on recognizing veterans through a street banner project. And we first became aware of this type of focus when Larry Atwood of Rare Necessities here in Canton introduced us to the idea of hanging banners after seeing them in area towns and referenced Laverne, Minnesota as a good example of this type of project. And we've also seen them in Brookings along their main street, additional cities like Ellsworth, Minnesota, Rock Rapids, Iowa, Worthington, Rapid City, and many others. As you go around the state, you'll see different examples of these types of projects. We believe that these banners would have a positive impact on the community, and those coming to visit or passing through town would be impressed by that as well. Our intent this evening is just to present this idea with some greater detail, along with a sample banner that you'll get to visualize our project that I'll show after a little bit. We've already contacted the South Dakota Department of Transportation. They indicated that it was on Canton City property and would need your approval. They otherwise did not see any issue with the project. We'd pattern our program after the Rock County Veterans Program of Laverne, Minnesota, and certain criteria would have to be met. We're using some of their materials as a guide, but just to give you a couple examples, like the honoree is a present or past member of the United States Armed Forces, and another one is like the honoree is a current, former, or deceased resident within Lincoln County or have ties to Lincoln County, so it's kind of in this area. We've introduced the idea to a couple family members of veterans and have so far been very well received of the idea. The veteran or his or her family would be responsible for the cost of the banner, currently estimated to be about $150 for the banner and the brackets that would go with that. The veteran or family would be able to keep the banner if they wanted after the desired initial season. And we project that to be, for example, Memorial Day weekend through Veterans Day weekend. So about 7 months, probably avoid the winter time if possible. And also we have a local business, LP Graphics, that did produce this example and would make the banners for us if we move ahead with this project. Our initial goal is to start with about 12 to 24 banners, and they would be mounted on the light posts along 5th Street. And if you look at those posts, most of the way up, there's an electrical outlet there. I'm anticipating to go up about that high, and there's a couple reasons for that. Potentially, there's enough spots for 56 banners, which surprised even me when I was counting, if both sides of the posts are used. We'd like to see the banners positioned north and south, and that's for a couple reasons, both for visibility along the highway and also to not interfere with the flags that currently run east and west that are used on the poles occasionally, as well as avoiding the flower baskets that are on those posts as well. If approved, we would plan to take care of the initial mounting of the brackets and the poles, along with hanging the banners. We'd either rent a lift to use or secure the use of a local business, like a bucket truck, to assist us in hanging those. Any assistance from the city of Canton would be welcome, but it's not expected. So now I'd just like to show you an example of the banner and the brackets, and I've got LP Graphics here to help with that. We're looking at a 2x4 banner, 2 feet wide by 4 feet long. And this is just an initial prototype that they did. So then there'd be a picture of the veteran as well as where they served, any other information that's pertinent. In this case, Rick Jewell offered this picture of his dad, Dale. And then on the back, thank you for your service. We probably have the Canton Small Business Group across the bottom. Also mentioned some other ideas of individual businesses adding on there. But this is just to give you a kind of a visual of what we're talking about. So we greatly appreciate your time this evening and look forward to moving ahead with this important project, and we'll try our best to answer any questions that you might have.
The aluminum poles aren't, I think would be okay. It's the problem is we have a lot of fiberglass ones downtown.
Mhm.
And they're about like an eggshell. You touch them wrong or breathe on them wrong and they break. To be honest with you, I talked to Chris about it a little bit. I think Chris talked to you, Commissioner Rivers.
I think it's a great project, it just, the light poles are questionable about
Okay.
integrity of the post.
We're kind of shocked that the flags and the baskets haven't taken some of them out yet. I mean, they're, yeah, they're very touchy. I mean, like I told Kim, I love the project. It's a great idea, but I'm just worried about our light poles.
Okay.
Whether this is gonna be too much, if the wind comes up, whether they're just gonna start snapping them, because they are very, can be very brittle.
Even if you can run a post, no architect, but, run a post, if you needed do you need electricity?
No,
Or they light
they don't require any electric.
a pole separately would probably be better.
Okay.
And I don't know what's actually out there, but, so that's just one of the concerns that came to my mind is our road light poles can be pretty brittle.
Okay.
You wanna do it from what street to what street?
Yeah.
Basically from Pump and Pack to the post office.
Cedar to
Cedar to, yeah.
Where are the fiberglass posts versus the steel posts?
Ones that got the flower baskets on?
Well,
Steel,
no, the flower baskets are on the other ones as well, I think.
are they, so they're intermixed?
Because what happens is the fiberglass poles, they were bought when the Highway 18 project was done for decorative. For some reason, they were all fiberglass back then. I don't know why. There's a company that remanufactures them, but they won't run them until they have enough of them. So it'll take us 2-3 months, 4 months to get a new pole. So we've kind of started, as they've been breaking, we've been kind of switching them out with aluminum. So they're kind of intermixed with what's aluminum and what's not.
Could we start with a project on just the aluminum ones and not the fiberglass ones?
That's what I'm gonna suggest, but, let us, did Chris give you any indication whether that would be okay?
You just said there was, the ones that are brittle are just,
Yeah,
Let us check and.
I can't tell you if it's,
right.
If he was here, we could have a bit better definitive answer, but let us check and we'll get back.
And I think the idea is we want to start out small, make sure it's working well, and then expand as we go. So,
I just have one more.
yes,
If you said right now currently, based on what you figured, you could do about 56.
if you
Is
did
there-
them all,
if you
there's
did them all.
spaces for
Is
that.
there, what if you ended up getting over 100 people that wanted to do this? Do you have a way that you're?
Yeah, it'd be a waiting list.
Okay,
That's what Rock County did. They have a waiting list almost all the time.
okay,
So-
and then would you switch it out from year to year then, so that?
Yeah,
people
after
on the
one
waiting
year,
list
After 1 year, that's the end of that term. So if there was a spot and the family wanted to have it up again, then they'd be charged probably another $100 to have it back up.
But they
But-
would have first right over someone else who didn't have it up. I mean, I'm just saying
No.
so that we would say Paul was a veteran, I was a
Yeah.
veteran, but he had his up every year, but I wanted mine up.
No.
I mean, is there a way that it would be?
If you're maxed out, then anyone new would have first chance. Then anybody, if there's still a spot, then somebody could renew theirs.
Okay. Can they go on the poles that are farther out?
Those are,
Or do we not almost?
I think the bigger ones, but I don't have a good answer for that. I think the downtown area would look nicer.
Well, yeah, it would, but in
Right.
case that we've had
But
war, I
we
was
could
wondering.
put aluminum poles and we can expand, yeah.
Yeah, the idea isn't that it has to all be done right now. We just want to get started and show that it's we're proud of our veterans and then move on from there.
Absolutely, that's what I told Kim, I
Yeah.
think it's a great project, a
Good.
great idea, I just worry about some,
Yeah,
our
so-
light poles being able, the fiberglass ones being able to take that.
So if we could identify which pole might work and, even
Let us,
if it isn't perfectly symmetrical, it doesn't have to be to start with.
So
let us do some checking.
Okay.
can we vote on that and then, and let them know, so we don't.
If you guys wanna move forward with it and move forward with the, putting them on the
Yes.
aluminum poles contingent on the public works director.
Yeah, that
Could
way
we,
you don't.
at least give us an idea about how many
Yeah.
poles we could start.
And we could vote on that and then he can let you know.
Give you one.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Going forward, yes, I got two questions.
Okay.
Going forward, is this gonna be on a committee that you guys are creating?
It's all part of our Canton Small Business Group.
They're gonna take care of who's
Yes.
on it each year?
Right. Yep.
You said you talked to the state,
Yes.
and the only reason I'm asking, so you don't get in trouble. The post is in the city property.
Right.
You wanna hang your flags, these banners north and south.
Right.
So they're gonna extend 2 feet out, 4 feet out from the
Actually,
post?
and haven't hung the banner to actually do the measurement, but eyeballing it and based on the 27.5 inches from where that is to that outside, it looks to me like it drops right on top of the curb. Doesn't look like it extends into the street at all. So,
Again, not
Yeah.
all for the project.
Yeah.
I had to move my price sign out at the store because I was 6 inches. The post was in my property. The sign,
issue with that. So that's all we're going by. So,
Motion to move forward.
okay, thank you for
Motion
your
to
time.
Second,
To move forward with the project contingent on the public works director.
Yeah.
Okay.
okay. Call roll.
Commissioner Garbers,
uh,
York, Larson. Biggers.
Aye.
Mayor Lundstrom.
Aye. Okay, moving on. The Beaver Creek Sanitary Sewer Repair Recommendation. Under circumstances, the city engineer went and received the city engineer from JSA will give his recommendation.
Thank you. We initially went out to 3 area contractors for bids. Metro Construction out of T, H&W Contracting out of Sioux Falls, and then Spielman Excavating out of T as well. We opened bids this morning. Spielman Excavating did not submit a bid, so we had two bids come in on this project. High bid came in from Metro Construction at just under 1.4 million. And then the low bid of H&W Contracting of $724,000. Our estimate going into it was $755,000. We've done a number of projects with H&W. They've done a few projects here in Canton already. Most recent, I think, was back in 2016, 17, when they did the Beaver Creek lift station modification, reconstruction, actually. They do similar type of work. They do they do quite a bit of emergency work for the city of Sioux Falls as well. So they're adept they've got the equipment, crews to get it done. So we have no issues with H&W. We've looked through their bid. In their bid packet, everything is in order. So we would recommend that the city consider H&W and award them this construction project.
Okay, when, did they indicate when they would be able to start?
We would get the award to them potentially tomorrow. They would need 6 or 7 days to get their bonds in place and come back to you with an actual contract. So likely would be sometime in mid-October by the time they start hauling material in.
Did they have an estimation of how long it would take?
They're hoping to be done by the completion date, which I believe was mid-December. The only thing that would likely not be done would be like the seeding, the final,
Yeah.
the final cleanup, and that would be done in May
Okay.
of 25.
So, motion and second is needed to, approve this recommendation.
The 724, that's their bid,
That's their bid, correct.
the engineering, your engineering is on top of this? And what they've already done, is that on top of this, or is this part of this?
That would be our invoice, our design so far is on top of that. And then it matters of what you want for us out there in the field. If you want somebody out there every day, or more like what we did on Innovation Street, periodic inspections. But our engineering construction administration would be on top of this, pay requests, change orders if there are any, staking, things like that. And we can put together a cost proposal for that as well.
The emergency pumping is also separate from this.
Correct.
So are you helping to get this under FEMA? Or is that up to us?
We've, today, well, we just sent them, we are. So we have submitted plans and specs to them. We've got our permits in place. So that with basically the costs, all the costs to date, both city costs involved in this, and now that we have a bid for these costs, we can submit that to FEMA and hopefully get that 80-10-10 split in funds, in financing.
Our discussion this week on other projects, you're on time and material.
Yes.
How are you gonna get a number to take it to FEMA?
Most of our projects, time and material, but we always provide a estimate up front. So we'll say it's going to be $50,000. We estimate it's going to be $50,000. The actual time and hours, 45,000, 52,000. We provide that estimate.
So if this project is something that FEMA will most likely cover, what happens if they don't?
Then we are on the hook for it. The indications that we have got is that FEMA will probably fund it.
Excuse me. Part of that.
I guess my concern is just if for some reason FEMA didn't, then we're on the hook for the.
We're gonna have to get it done one way
Yeah,
or the
I
other
mean, I
because
just-
it's laying on top of the ground when it freezes.
I understand it's $725,000.
What are you gonna do?
It's more than, it'll be $1 million by the time we're done. Of what we have already spent, the engineer, he's on top of this. What H&W, what have we paid H&W so far?
So 39,000?
About 39,000 for the temporary bypass to date.
And that's their generator running?
Correct.
Generator, their pumps, their yellow mine pipe that's running up and around the bridge and
So H&W, they have no clause on their surprises underneath?
As far as unknown costs moving forward.
Deeper than what you thought, kind of too.
Fortunately,
Are
we
we
did.
drilling underneath the water?
Fortunately, we did. So had a couple guys in the kayaks doing the survey of the bottom of the channel. It's scoured out in places 12 to 14 feet below where it was. And the pipe was buried about 4 feet underneath. So it's 8 feet. The bank or the bottom of the channel is now about 8 foot below where the pipe was. We should have a good idea of how much rock and material it's going to take to fill it back up. And that's what H&W bid, basically. We should have a good.
Are we going lower than it was?
We looked at trying to make that sewer lower. It's at a minimum grade now. It's a gravity line. So we really can't make, because we've got the lift station, we're tying into the lift station right on the east side. We really can't make it any lower than what it was before.
We go further south.
We looked at rerouting going to the south. Since the sanitary sewer is at a minimum slope, trying to go south and then come back to the north, we run out of grade and we can't get flow in the pipe anymore. We looked at going north. We can't go to the north, obviously, because we got the structure right there. But again, we have the minimum grade on that sewer. It's difficult to move it anywhere than where it is now.
These plans where, let's just say we're gonna get FEMA. These plans, my concern, does FEMA need to know that we're burying it in rock, that if this happens again, most likely that rock's gonna get washed out again? Does FEMA need to okay that's what they're paying for?
They've got the plans in front of them, and they're aware that, we can certainly bring that up in more detail with them. The casing is anchored on, it's in sanitary sewers in a casing now, and it will be anchored back into the banks with a fairly good volume of concrete. So if that rock does disappear again, the rock is designed for that velocity and force coming under the bridge. If for some reason Mother Nature does its wonderful things again and exceeds those, the casing is anchored into both banks as kind of a secondary factor of safety. Because that's the last thing, we want. We don't do all this work and then end up doing the same thing in 5-10 years or whenever the next major storm is.
And I think Myron, a lot of the industry standards are making you case them if you go underneath the body of a stream and stuff anymore, aren't they?
Correct.
Any other questions? Not? Want to make a motion or take a motion?
Probably to go with H&W, is that a motion, sorry?
Yep, and authorize the mayor to sign the notice of award.
Motion.
Second.
A motion in a second. You want to call roll?
Commissioners York.
Aye.
Larson.
Aye.
Figures.
Aye.
Garvers.
Aye.
Mayor Lundstrom.
Aye. Next on the agenda is a new hire for a part-time police officer. It's recommended to hire Colton Lovak as part-time officer, position at $27.53 per hour, grade 12, step 1. He'll have a 6-month probationary period and may be eligible for a step increase in that time. So, how many part-timers do we have now? 3?
Somebody quit or whatever, we have.
These are the ones that you approved earlier. We hired a part-time officer.
This is to replace the one part-time officer that chose not to take the position, correct?
Grade 12, step 1 is where we typically start. Because he's experienced.
He's certified.
If I'm saying like, is 12, grade 12, step 1, is that dropping him from what he's probably expecting? I don't want to short stick a guy that has experience.
No, he's a certified officer with Beersford currently. He went through the academy with Officer Ray. It's appropriate with where he is, but the level we're starting.
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second. Is there any other questions? Okay, want to call roll?
Commissioners Larson.
Aye.
Biggers.
Aye.
Garbers.
Aye.
York. Mayor Lundstedt.
Aye. Next on the agenda is the state water plan with DANR. This is on West Road. That will be, go to the Justice Center when it's built. The city's looking to potentially secure funding for the infrastructure expansion project with Lincoln County. Harley Ferguson from Southeastern Council of Governments is willing to submit the project to be listed on the state water plan with DNR by October 1st, 2024, with the city listed as the applicant and Lincoln County listed as the co-sponsor. Motion is needed to approve Harley submitting the application by October 1st, with the city listed as the applicant.
This thing you'd be up to date on, Alicia?
I'm sorry?
Would you be working with Harley on this, or is this something totally separate?
No, I'm sure I would work with Harley on this.
Motion?
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Call roll?
Commissioners Biggers.
Aye.
Garbers.
Aye.
York. Larson. Mayor Lundstedt.
Aye. Next on the agenda is the city administrator job description.
I have some changes, and I just printed them out, it's easier. Okay, so I can get them up.
Not ever,
Oh, I did.
I get one. I get mine.
Paul can look mine.
I can look
He
at
won't
Tyler's.
keep it anyways.
you can look at Tyler's.
I got it on my phone.
Anyway, I'd like to make a motion to approve with the following changes. I guess, under essential functions, where administrative, I'd like to add review, analyze, and suggest improvements to business and organizational systems to assist in operating more efficiently and effectively through organizational studies and evaluations. Under finance, add research, prepare, and submit grant application towards programs that are advantageous to the city. Number 3, public relations, add maintain an active and positive presence in the community by remaining visible in the community activities and events. Under staff supervision, it looks like we're missing some departments. So after where it says in conjunction with the mayor and individual commissioners, assist in the management of the following city departments: water, wastewater, storm, sewer, solid waste, human resources, library, street, recycling, parks and recreation, engineering, airport, police, and fire. I'd like to either add option A, where it says finance, administrative staff, and any other department or employee not listed. Or we could simplify the wording by using option B and just put in conjunction with the mayor and individual commissioners, assist in the management of all officers, departments, department heads, and employees of the city. Under the next section, qualification and requirements, where it says additional requirements, which is number 4, add residency within the corporate limits of the city of Canton within 1 year of employment. And then I thought of another one that I wanted to add, which is under education and work experience, where it reads, Bachelor of Arts or Bachelor of Science in Public Administration, Business or related field required. I'd like to add, and Master's preferred.
On the option, under staff supervision, you want finance administrator, so you want the finance officer under the administrator?
Yeah, I mean, it lists all of the departments except for finance, administrative staff, and I'm not, I put in any other department or employee not listed, just to, in case there's a department that I didn't see that's not listed. I mean, up on the top of, I guess if you look at the top of it, the actual description, it says who he supervises is all department heads and administrative staff. Anyways, which is why, I'm not sure why we're listing all of the departments, but we left out the other two, I guess. Although Alicia did confirm that the other administrative staff falls under finance anyway, so it should be added to the list of who's being supervised.
Like utility billing clerk and administrative assistant fall under
The utility clerk and administrative assistant, so that would be Sherry and Karen, fall under finance, so it should be listed there.
Okay, I think, isn't there, under, even if you have a city manager does not have control over the finance officer, correct? Isn't that, I saw one, it's some chapter 9 something or another.
Well, when every meeting or every person I talked to, city administrator, and even Jameson said it, that he supervises the finance department. So I don't understand why we would have someone who's supposed to be above everyone but the commission not supervise all departments. It doesn't make sense to me, unless it's legally something
City
they can't
managers
do.
don't have control over finance.
If I could try to give you a long answer, but please follow with me. The first handout that I gave you is from the very first page of the Municipal League Handbook. And it says that a municipality is a legal creation of the state legislature and the state constitution. And unless it says you can do it in the state statute, you can't do it. And if it's prescribed by state statute, you have to do it the way that is prescribed in the statute. All right, on page 2, you're gonna see that any resident of a municipality can maintain an action to prevent a violation of any provision of Title 19 by a municipality, or excuse me, Title 9. And within Title 9 is Chapter 9.9, which is the city commissioner form of government, which has specific powers, duties, and functions of each of the commissioners. And within that chapter, it doesn't say that you have the ability to assign specific other either by the commission or by all of those. Now, I think that they can assist, but the other thing I wanted to point out to you is the more voluminous portion of this, and that's 9.14. And I want to start out with 9.14.3.
Larry, I can't hear you and I'm.
All right. Yeah, I'm going to try to get closer. I'm going to start out with 9.14.3. And this is what gives you the authority to have the city administrator form of government. And you can have such officers as needed and provided by ordinance shall be appointed. All right, you decide what it is that you're going to have. I will refer you as you go on further and you start talking about your city finance officer, and I'm starting specifically with 9.14.17, and it tells you, and I go from 1 down to 11, all of the things that the city finance officer must do by state law. He must do those. He doesn't have any choice whether he does them or not, and nobody else can tell him to do those. By way of example, he has to comply 9/14/19. He shall supervise the accounting system of all departments and officers of the municipality in accordance with recommendations of the Department of Legislative Audit. He has to do that. You can't tell him to do something different. I'm talking to you as the city commission, and you can't tell somebody else to tell him how to do something different. Now, when you get down to 9/14/21, after you're going to see number 13, and it says, the finance officer shall perform such other duties as may be required by ordinance, resolution, or direction of the governing body. Okay? You can tell your city administrator to go ahead and tell that finance officer, other than what those other duties are, here's how it's going to work. You can do that. But the things that are by statute that the finance officer must do, I don't think you have any authority to have anybody tell them how to do that. I want you to think, I want you to think about two things when you're going to say this. We're going to tell him how to do his job by ordinance, resolution, or direction of the governing body. Make sure that you give whoever the finance officer is sufficient time to do his job. And so you do your job first, and if you got some spare other time, we'll let the city finance officer direct what you're going to do. But I want you to make sure that if you're going to say that he's in control, you say something like the city administrator shall have the finance officers perform such other duties as are not required of the finance officer by law. Because he can't tell the finance officer how to be the finance officer.
And you could, I mean, the wording could be changed to however legally it needs to be.
Yeah,
I just think I just noticed it was a department that wasn't there, and it seems strange that we'd include all of the departments with the finance.
Now, I will tell you that in the city, help me now, it's not city finance, it's manager, thank you. In the city manager form of government, the governing body appoints, like the library board, who the city finance officers, and there's a specific statute, and it says that the city manager runs all the other employees. And I'm also going to tell you that there are like 12 to 20 of you critters. And by what I mean by 20 of you critters, that's the city commissioner form of government. And you need to know that at one point in time, Sioux Falls was the city commissioner form of government. And because of problems logistically on making it work with a city administrator form, they went to home rule. And I'm going to tell you that Pierre was a commissioner form of government, and they did the same thing. Many of the things that you would like to do if you changed your form of government, I think, would be particularly easier than under the existing statute that you have right now, Commissioner Piggers. But those are my comments on your changes. I just want to make sure that we recognize that the legislature has preempted certain functions of what a city finance officer is supposed to do.
And I understand that. When reading it, it just appears strange that we're not we listed all departments, but not the finance department. And also isn't Kyle considered a department head?
Is Kyle a department? That's a great question. I'm going to tell you that in the city manager form of government, they talk about it being the auditor and the treasurer. And then when you look at all these statutes, 9/14, they refer throughout there to the finance, municipal finance officer. And so I don't know. I don't think state law is very clear on that, Commissioner Biggers.
Because it also appears like when we're listing all of the departments, my department, I could have the city administrator assist me with the supervision. Paul could have the same. Chris and even Sandy can have us assist, but Tyler can't have any assistance.
Well, I think he could assist him in the performance of things that he wants to do that are not mandated to him by state statute. No, you can have him assist him, and you can assign such other tasks as I pointed out under 9/14 um,
21.
21.
Okay,
And you
so-
can do that. I just want to be very careful that you understand that we need to do this
No,
right.
I fully understand. So what would you either add to make this clear, or what would you, I mean, what would you add into the job description?
What I did, and I think I caught most of those in these ordinances, I put in for each of you as commissioners what your job was. Okay? And I made it very clear so no one could say, I didn't realize that was my job. I didn't know that was my powers. And then I went in on the rest of the other officers and I put in specifically what the city finance officers' duties were by law. He was required to do by law. I think I caught all those. And then what we have left is what is this city administrator going to do? And we have modeled it after Madison, which was our mothership. He can do all these things and assist each department head, including the mayor, in doing their job. He can tell you what he thinks about stuff. He can help you formulate policies and all these sorts of things. And it's not in Lennox where they don't have these requirements that you have a job that you have to do under statute. You can't tell him, I'm tired today, do my job, but you can direct him on how to do your job, if that makes sense. And if you want to call it a legal fiction, I would agree that it is, but that's what your law happens to say. So I'd be happy to make sure we are wording it to say what you want to say. He or whoever the finance officer is, because I told you could make the city administrator the finance officer, but whoever you appoint, that person must do their statutory job. And then beyond that, you guys are going to say to the finance officer, whoever that is, you're going to work with our city administrator and doing the rest of the stuff on that list.
City administrator still can be city administrator in charge of finance. He can't go in there and tell a finance officer to do something that's not according to code.
That's right.
But he could still be in charge of that finance officer to make sure that he follows the code and does whatever else the administrator tells him what to do.
I don't think he can be any more in charge of telling the finance officer what to do than he could tell you as it relates to the duties that have been assigned to you by statute.
But the administrator can go tell Troy, this is what I want you to do, but he can't tell another department head what to do.
Who's Troy?
Chief of police.
Troy, okay. Well, you look at the statute and it says that Jackie Piggers is in charge of the supervision and everything that happens with the police department. And remember the memorandum that I handed out? That's what Jackie does. And then she does what other departments get assigned to her, and you control the personnel, the apparatus, and all that stuff. You can be assisted you can be assisted. And remember that other cities that do not have the city commissioner form of government don't have specific duties assigned to the elected officials. So they can assist, and they can assist, and they can assist. They can, at your direction, if it's in your department, Commissioner Garbers, do what you suggest that they do and assist you in doing it. And then you have the broad policy making forms or format of this form of government where you guys can selectively sit down and set policy. Now, I'm going to tell you what you're all trying to do is you're all trying to make the city run more efficiently. You're all trying to make sure that things you don't have the time to do or that you don't know how to do, that they get done appropriately. And then everybody at the end of the year smiles at each other and says we did a good job. And if you've cooperated with each other and share information, everybody's in the loop, that's where you're going to end up at. Unfortunately, I can't tell you can do something that I don't believe the law says that you can do. And I don't care how you want to run things, but if it's in violation of state statute, I have to tell you that. And if state statute says there's only one way you can ride the horse, I have to tell you that.
So are we able to change the wording to what I put in option B? I mean, I feel like that just encompasses it then. I mean, where instead of listing out every department.
If you added at the end as provided by state law, then I'll tell you that that's safe harbor.
Okay, well then can we go with option B then?
We're still gonna sit there and argue what by state law,
So I'm gonna tell you,
because we're in a certain commission government.
yeah, I'm gonna tell you, state law says what your job is, Commissioner Garbers, by state statute. It says what it is. Look at 914.3 again. That is the statute that allows you to have a city administrator. City administrator is mentioned in the South Dakota Code one time, and it's only in emergency management where it is mentioned. Such officers as needed and provided by ordinance shall be appointed. Okay? Everything after that, anything you guys can do that a governing body can do, you can have under the city commissioner form of government, have your city administrator assist you with. But if it's been preempted by state statute, you must do it this way, like in many instances with the finance officer as it relates to keeping the books and as it relates to election. You can't tell them to violate state law and how to run an election.
I think we're hung up on that. We're gonna hire an administrator that's going to tell them to do something that's not by state law. Now, I don't know if Madison is not, I mean, you and I've had that conversation. Maybe Madison ain't quite where they're supposed to be. Number one, I've done my homework. If we don't include the finance officer's department into this,
Yep.
we ain't gonna have a prayer of anybody even applying for that job. How can you ask administrator to run the town, the whole town?
They're not
but
running the
be in
town.
charge of everybody.
We should have a mayor and a commissioner that'll run the town. The administrator is gonna give you advice and do the back leg and the legwork for you. You're talking about a manager, which we already had, which ran the city, which gave all the power to one person. You can't do that. It didn't work.
Geez, I think we had 3 towns here that
Okay.
we talked to everybody in those 3 towns that they like what they have.
Oh, and I do believe they like what they have, and I'm not here to tell you if they're doing it right or wrong. That's not my purpose here. I'm telling you, I have read the statutes. I've showed you all the statutes. I've told you what they say, and I handed out tonight just the black letter law for cities. The only power you have as a city is what's in the Constitution and what is given to you by statute. And it very clearly says what your powers and duties are you the street commissioner? Okay, as a street commissioner. The mayor clearly tells you what your powers and duties are. It tells you that when you have other departments that aren't in here, you have to sign it to one of you commissioners to be in charge of that department. All right. Now, all day long, a city administrator can assist you in doing these things, but I find no language that says that you can say to your city administrator, do my job. There's nothing in there in some of the classic language you'll see in statutes, notwithstanding the provisions of blah, blah, blah. You can make him do that. In lieu of each commissioner doing his job pursuant to these statutes, 9, I think it's 19 or 18 to 24, you can do this. You guys can do whatever you want. I'm telling you the way that I think you should do it because that's what the statute says. I'm giving you what I believe is safe harbor. And if you want to do something else that's other in the code, I mean, you can go ahead and do that, but it's going to be hard to justify how you did it when the statute said something else.
May I ask Larry a question?
Come forward.
The question, the goal, it sounds like, is.
You got back in the mic.
I'm sorry. The goal is to have the city administrator to be accountable. If that person was hired as the city administrator and finance officer, and the current finance officer became a different title, finance superintendent, everything's the same, but the person that's accountable is the person that they're hiring, and they have to follow the laws, the state code. That was my suggestion or question. If you change the title to city administrator and finance officer, it seems like to me it would solve the problem.
For one thing, I have a comment about that. If you listen to any of those administrators on Thursday night, they all said they are not trained to be finance officers.
But they were accountable.
No, they
I
said
did
they would-
listen to it.
They said you wouldn't want
consulted.
any of us to be a finance officer. Because they're not trained to do what finance officers are trained to do.
I thought your goal was to try and have them accountable for everything. So,
But
Well,
my,
I think there needs to be checks and balances, so
my,
I think one person.
all right, my name
But the
is,
commission-
excuse me, my name's Larry Nelson. I've been the city attorney, I think, since 1992, 93, somewhere in there. I've been through numerous forms of government. My job has always been to tell you what the law is. That's what my job is. I don't care what form of government you have. I don't care how many elections you have to change the form of government. On a personal note, it was very painful to go from the city manager form of government back to the city commissioner form on 3 votes. I remember sitting there and participating in the recount board, but the votes were counted and that's what the people did. Today, you guys are trying to do a city administrator form of government, and I'm trying to tell you how to do it right. If you don't want to follow my recommendation, that's fine.
So again, then I would make a motion to approve the changes that I have on here with option B, how you read it by an ad provided by state law. I think that encompasses what I'm trying to say and what I was trying to get across, but it legally works.
So staff supervision, you're getting rid of anything down to, or we could simply simplify the wording to say this.
Yes.
Okay, so administrative powers, 1 is fine. Finance, add, research, prepare and submit grant applications that are advantageous, that's fine. 3 is fine. Option B, in compliance with state law added after city is fine. Under 4, I think is fine, and Commissioner Piggers, I believe you also had an oral amendment where you suggested that you preferred that they have a master's in public administration.
Yes.
Okay, and that is fine. Be happy to answer any other questions.
So we hung up on this by our form of government, so if we maybe back out and change our form of government, it'd be better than before we hire an administrator.
If you want to get rid of, remember that article I handed out, and I can't remember, it was to get rid of the 5 individual fiefdoms, which was the reason why the city of Sioux Falls changed from the city commissioner form of government to what it has now. And the city of Sioux Falls has a strong mayor and council, right? And in their charter, they laid out, here's how we're electing people at large in certain districts. And Paul, I'm trying to answer your question. But then you.
So let's call dramatic here if I don't have the right words, but why can't we go that way?
You could, but then you went up to Pier, and Pier had the commissioner form of government, and they changed it to keep the commissioners as kind of being nominal department heads. The city administrator is in charge of everything. The city administrator keeps each individual commissioner in the loop on what's going on, and more importantly says, what do you want to do? You know, what's kind of your vision doing this, and does it to the entire city commission as well. They shuffled the deck as far as the powers, and Christy Honeywell is the city administrator up there, used to be a city or an engineer for the state of South Dakota, and they have the Parks Department is big up there. So one of the commissioners is doing the Parks Department because, you know, of all the water sports in the river and all those sorts of things. And then the city municipal electric is big up there. So they changed and kept the same number of commissioners, and then they made a strong mayor form of government, which is kind of similar to what Sioux Falls did. Now I'm going to tell you, the first two you ought to look at. Home rule is you ought to think about doing that, because home rule says to a certain degree you get to do anything that the state hasn't preempted. I mean, you can kind of sit down, we're going to make up what our law is. The aldermanic form of government is what Lennox has, and that would work. Now I'm going to tell you again, the only thing in state code that deals with the city administrator is one thing on managers, and the other one is 914(3) that says you can appoint such officials as are deemed necessary by ordinance. You have to have an ordinance that says that what it is. So yes, another easier or perhaps simpler way is just to go to the aldermanic form of government. But I think there are golden opportunities in government and otherwise that the city of Sioux Falls has done through home rule, and that Pier has done through home rule. One thing the city of Sioux Falls did is they passed a tax that $1 a night to stay at a hotel or motel up there. Well, since they've done that, the rest of the legislature welcomes, oh, we can't do that, the world is ending. But so they have a tax, but nobody else has it because the legislature came in and outlawed it for others. I know, Mayor, you've worked, closely with Mayor Tenhagen and his meetings with other, mayors and stuff, but they have the financial wherewithal to make a lot of things happen that we can't. But boy, they're trying to think of what they're doing wrong, and I can't think of much that they're doing wrong. And I think a lot of it has to do with the home rule charter. So I tell you to go home rule if you're going to change the form of government, just because you can do a lot more things, but you have two models there that I think are pretty good. But quick down and dirty aldermanic gets you into 914(3). And, when you look at city manager form of government, it's very clear on how that works. There's nothing on city administrator. Don't know if that's good or bad, but remember we started out, I said that you only have such powers as the legislature says you can have, and they specifically give to you, and that's your source document is 914(3) for city administrator. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. So. Did you have a motion out?
Yeah, I made a motion for the changes that you all have in front of you with option B,
And that's as according to.
provided by state law.
Is there a second?
I got a question real quick. If I
Sure.
may, please.
Yep.
Moses Isaias, resident here, Canton, 2219. I guess I'm not understanding how you can move forward to vote on a job description when I'm not sure that you guys agree on what you're hiring and what their job is going to be. And I mean, reality, have you guys sat down and talked? Because we're talking about a city administrator, and what you guys are putting out there sounds like you're gonna give them the power of a city manager. I mean, and I'm asking, I'm not being rude, I'm just asking. Before you vote on a job description, I think you guys need to be confident in what you're asking of this person, so that you're all on the same page, because right now I don't see you guys being on the same page.
Well, for me personally, I've talked to 8 city administrators. I've talked to the commission, a commissioner of Madison and the mayor of Madison, which Madison has the same form of government we do. I am very clear of what.
So what's your definition of the city administrator?
To me, this is someone that is assisting us as commissioners on the day-to-day operations of the city.
So
Someone that I can reach out to if I have questions. I don't have to necessarily call Paul to find out what's going on with the street department. Or if,
Why
about
wouldn't you call Paul though? Because the administrator is to assist all of you guys, to help and guide you, but that's still Paul's department, so why wouldn't you reach out to talk to Paul?
And I could if I needed to, but if it's just to find out where a water main break is, I don't know that I need to necessarily call Paul to find that out. I also feel that the city administrator should be could maybe give us that information, because there's a lot of information that I find out by word of mouth, or I find out when it comes out on the app, or I find out 2 weeks later that something occurred because no one felt the need to share it with me.
But also you have to bear some responsibility to find out what those questions are or what's going around. It's frustrating to come to commission meetings and to hear the dialogue about asking questions and not knowing what's happening or which direction, because you guys get the agenda on Thursday, Friday, right? And you have Friday evening, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, whatever, to get with Kyle or whoever to discuss, to call Myron and say, hey, these are the questions that I have.
Who's gonna answer questions on a Saturday or Sunday?
That's part of the job. I did that when I was a commissioner.
Okay, well,
That is part of the
I
job.
guarantee you that I
Okay,
said,
so what I expect is to come to a commission meeting and to get answers and feedback, not to hear you guys discuss questions.
but you do realize that I can talk to Paul, but I can't talk to Paul and Sandy at the same time.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Larry, but so she can send an individual email to each one, not a group email, but on an individual, and they can respond individually.
Correct, but
So
I don't know.
you can still communicate that
Correct,
way.
but I don't know how that helps us as a group. If I have one opinion, Paul has another opinion, Chris has another opinion, Sandy has another, I'm basically sending all of the different opinions to everyone so that.
No, you're putting out what you want to them, and their feedback's gonna come back to you.
Correct.
And then you guys can get that figured out before you come to a commission meeting, so that you have answers for us.
Correct, but if Paul has a question then for Sandy, and Sandy has a question for Chris, I mean, what I'm saying is that it'd just be this huge loop of emails that's just keeps going around from each person individually.
Well, I would hope that you could figure that out.
Well, I'm
You
just telling you the restrictions
you-
of what we're allowed to
Well,
do.
they're not though. They're not, because you can communicate with them. Okay, hey, Paul, I talked to Sandy and her email, she stated this, this, and this. What are your thoughts on it?
Correct, but then I also
You
have
can
to
do
do
that.
that for each person.
You do. It's gonna take a little bit longer, but that's something that you can do. It's communicating, right?
Correct, but I also have other.
So we're
things
gonna
that
get
I
back
have
to where I
discuss.
think you guys need to discuss what a city administrator is, your expectations of that city administrator and that job. I don't know why that city administrator has to be in charge of Troy or Chris or everybody else, because they're here to help you guys get answers, to do the legwork, to get grants or whatever, and then to come back to you and say, hey, here's an easy way to do it, or this is what I found. They're not here to do your job. They're not here to take over your people under you. They're here to guide and help you and get you the information you need,
They are here
right?
to work with. the
All of you guys.
Krogmans. That's what we want to, I mean, if you would have been there Thursday night, listen to those 3 administrators.
There was two managers and an administrator, correct?
They're all city administrators.
They're all, okay. I did listen to it online, and that's what it sounded
That
like.
They are all
administrator
city
sits there
administrators.
and runs the town and brings, if there's something coming on the agenda like A through L like we got tonight, that administrator will come to our meeting with a recommendation.
Right.
So they will work with the Troys and the Chris Krogmans and Kyle and whatever other department we have.
They're gonna go to them for suggestions on whatever you ask them to help you with, but they're not gonna make the final decision. They're gonna bring it to you guys, and the commission and the mayor is still gonna decide on what's best or which way to approach it. Yeah, they're not gonna decide that. The administrator. Right, right. So like I said, I'm just saying, how can you go forward with voting on this job description? And there were so many questions for Larry right now. That's just my input. I don't think you're ready for that yet.
Thank you.
Mayor, just closing comments. The job description is based off what the city of Madison does. Okay, that's your mothership for that. And I think everything that is there, in there is appropriate and is amended is appropriate.
No.
And then a second.
Can you read me the motion again, please?
Motion is to approve the job description for the city administrator as amended, with option B and one.
But if we're gonna go back and then we're gonna come down because it is very clear tonight that we don't want our finance officer to be under the rule of administrators, so we're gonna put in there whatever according to, like Madison did, and I was in part of a conversation that Madison might not be running to 100% of what they're supposed to be doing, but as long as nobody bucks it, it works. I don't want that here. If we're gonna do that, then as much as I want an administrator and I've wanted one for 3.5 years, let's go back and get the right form of government to have an administrator that can run this town 100%.
And the city would have to vote on that. They would have to bring it forward.
Let's do it.
No, we don't do it.
I says, let's get it to citizens of Camden.
That's where I was confused about when Larry was at the podium saying that we need to do something with changing the government, and I had just moved here, so I was confused on, wait a minute, the commission didn't change the form of government.
No.
Whatever it was back then didn't change the form of government, the people did. So it isn't up to us 5 or 6 to change the government, it goes back to a public vote.
And they have to bring it forth. They have to take out petitions and they have to get, what is it, 15%?
Sure, but they have to pick a form of government?
Yeah.
That's the reason why we're here?
Just to try to clarify, Commissioner York. You have the city manager form of government, you have, which is Yankton by way of example, Vermillion. You have the city aldermanic form of government, which is Lennox, and there's just all kinds of them. That's the most popular form. City commissioner form is kind of rare. It's what we have. I know it's less than 20, but
We were told like 12.
it might be around 12.
Yeah.
Then you have the option to do what's called home rule, and that involves a committee, a group, who's ever pushing it, sitting down and coming up with a home rule charter. And that home rule charter, there's a procedure that you can change it if something isn't working right. I think there are maybe 12 home rule cities. Beersford happens to be.
Okay. I researched all that.
All right, thank you. Beersford happens to be one. Pierre happens to be one. Watertown, Brookings, Sioux Falls. Rapid City, oddly enough, is not.
Okay.
But there you sit down and you decide the form of government. And I don't think you're limited under home rule to the commissioner form or the aldermanic form or the city manager form. Sioux Falls has a strong mayor that they put in with their home rule charter. election of counselors, if I'm thinking this right. They've got 3 or 4 at large, and then they've got the rest from districts, and that's nothing that happens under any of the current statutes that we have on municipal government. Peer, I don't know how they elect their people. Do you know?
It's at large, I believe, or at least it was.
At large.
If they did it in a home rule, I don't know. I think it's still at large.
So
Keep in mind right now, if the way the elections are set up, we have 5 wards. So if we go to automatic and do 5 wards, you will have 11 people sitting on it.
if Commissioner York, you're gonna look at doing home rule, then I think you should get a committee that's gonna sit down and come up with what that thing is gonna look like. And again, I think the ones you could look at are Beersford and Brookings and Watertown. What are the other ones there?
For which one, home rule?
Yeah.
Aberdeen, Beersford, Brookings, Elk Point, Faith, Fort Pierre, Sioux Falls, Springfield, Watertown.
So those are, the smaller ones, it may be something that works better for us.
The home rule charter still has to be voted on by the people, correct, Larry?
Correct.
Hope so. We have a motion.
So I have a motion, we have nothing on a second. Die for lack of second. Okay. Okay. So the next is the land tillage for hay proposals. And the city received 2 proposals to till the acres and hay the acres. Both proposals requested an extended lease. What was that?
We had 2 people submit. One applicant said they would do it. They wanted a 10-year lease and for $100 an acre. Another one submitted one that wanted a 5-year lease for $135 an acre. I don't believe we want to get into an extended lease to do this.
No, because anything could be developed at any given time.
And I don't know if there's alternatives. I don't think the value of the hay is a lot, that,
You could walk away and not do anything this year, and it looks like crap. Yes, I'm more than open. When we voted 5-0 to do a 5-year lease earlier this year. That was supposed to be in effect for this year, and that fell through. Afterwards, Larry was working with Kyle about putting in there that say we needed to put another lagoon in, that lease could be broke to do that without penalty. Now, if we can still take that, did we get that done?
yes.
Okay. Definitely for discussion. I'd like to take what you did, and my motion would be to open it back up for a 3-year with that provision.
Different things Sam and I did, and Sam, bring my email up. There's,
Number one, I don't think we can accept either one of those bids tonight because that's
no.
not
that's-
what we put out there.
It's not what we were requesting, you know. Sam said 2 folks answer requests with a counter offer. This is not what we asked for, so we can safely say that we got no outside response to our advertisement. 914.16.1 would allow us for somebody to provide weed control in exchange for the hay as compensation, so long as the value of the hay does not exceed, $5,000.
You go back to the wording that we put in there this spring about we could break a portion of the contract for whatever we wanted to build,
Yes,
whatever we wanted to build on, that we could take back
yes,
without violating the contract.
correct.
That's the wording I was asking if we had.
Yes, we have that, but since that contract that we were working on, the bids we did got broke. Now we don't have a contract, so we can do different things. We went out for proposal to have it tilled, because obviously next year we'll go out for a 5-year lease again with it, under the new lease provisions. So it's what we're going to do now for tillage and haying, or if you just want to leave it alone for this year, and we'll just re-advertise it next year.
I personally would rather do something now I would like to see 3 years, not 5 years, but I'm open for 5 years. But I'd like to do it now, because if I was going to apply for it, if I was gonna submit a bid for this, I'd wanna go in this fall and level those weeds. Not wait until next year, because with that weed covered, and we happen to get a wet spring, it's not gonna dry out. So if we would go and do the 3-year now, which they can go in and do whatever they want this fall, but the 3 years would be for 25, 26, and 27, if we did a 3-year. Want to do 5, do 5. But then they'd have the right to go in and
Would have the right to go in, or you're gonna require them to till it.
I guess I'm not gonna require them to, I'd like for them to, and I think anybody that's gonna bid it for the years are gonna go in and do it, but are we gonna make them do it? Open for discussion. But I would like to do it now instead of next spring, because right now, nobody can go in and do anything. And if I was, I'm repeating myself, but if I was gonna get that, I would go in there this fall and get that blacker than it is now. So if you're looking for a motion, I'll just say, I'll put it out there for 3 years, they can go in if they want to and knock the way mature hay down and knock the weeds down if they want to. But we're gonna put out for a 3-year, 25, 26, and 27, with that same provision that if the city is bettering the city, that we don't need to go back to the renter and give permission to take it back. The portion that we need to better the city.
No, yeah, and we can do that, but if you wanna do that, we probably should go through a full advertising, so, and do a sealed bid process, which will take a while. If that's what you wanna go with, I have no problem doing
Can we
it.
get it done in 2 months?
It'd be close.
Month and a half would be nice. 2 months is, I'm thinking about when it freezes up.
I'd have to go back and look, but I think, so if that's your motion, we can try to get that ready.
So you made the motion, is there a second?
Second.
Call roll.
Commissioners Larson. Aye. Figurs.
Aye.
Garbers.
Aye.
York. Mayor Lundstrom.
Aye. Okay, that's the last of the agenda item, commissioner dialogue. I just want to thank everybody who came to the town hall last Thursday night, and those few that watched it online. You missed a great opportunity to have a lot of your questions answered. It was very informative. So thank you to those who did come. Jackie, do you have anything?
And it's just to say thank you for the people who came to the town hall meeting.
Yeah. Paul? Chris? Tyler?
I got nothing.
Okay. We'll call for executive session under codified law 1-25-2.
Motion?
Second.